I found my son asleep, exposed with another boy. So from what I've seen, I'll just say that I know my son has gay lovemaking with his friend. Now I want to say that I don't mind at all if my son is gay or bisexual or straight or any other sexuality, as long as he's happy. I just really need someone to talk to about this. I can't talk to his father as he has passed. It started around 6 or 7 months ago. My son called me at work about the same time he'd leave school and asked if it was fine to have a friend over. I work late hours. I said that was fine as I was very pleased he had made a friend as he's quite a shy kid. We recently moved from Mexico to the USA after his father's passing for a fresh start. Once I came home, I walked up to his bedroom and saw him and his friend inside, just sitting on my son's bed talking whilst watching a video on my son's phone. I asked his friend if he wanted to stay for tea, but he declined and said he should be getting home. He had long blonde hair. This is a sort of important detail for later. He had taken his bike to my house, so he just cycled back. Ever since then he came round occasionally and vice versa. He seemed like a nice kid all in all, so I wasn't worried he'd influence my son to do any drugs or something. About a month ago I walked into my home after my shift and called my son's name. No reply. I walked up to his bedroom and knocked on his door. No reply. I assumed he was sleeping, but I just wanted to check and see he's there and ask what he'd like for tea. I opened the door, and what I saw shocked me to my core. My son, whom I've always presumed as straight, I remember him having a couple girl crushes here and there's a kid, was there, exposed and being spooned by a taller, more muscular boy who was also exposed. The other boy's head was covered by my son's shoulder, but he shifted in his sleep and I saw his face, the same boy from 6 months ago. I looked at my son's bedroom walls to distract me, though I'm fine with my son experimenting as long as it's safe. I did not want to see that. As I looked around his room, I tried just focusing on his posters of Legend of Zelda until I noticed something uncanny. The main hero character, forgot his name, looked identical to the boy my son had slept with. I quickly hurried out the doorway and shut it closed, deciding to make dinner. My worries with this entire situation is, had they used protection? Was it consensual, and is the only reason my son has slept with this other boy to take advantage and play out a fantasy of the hero character? That's very out of character for him, but so is sleeping with another man, so I don't know. I hope it's just a type or a weird coincidence. I just don't want either my son or his friend to get hurt. I doubt he has slept with his friend purely for those reasons, but there is a 1% chance, and I don't want him or his friend getting hurt. Any suggestions? This has been eating at me for a few weeks and I really don't want to talk to my son about this as he still doesn't know. I know he likes men, but I'm afraid I'll have to. Thank you for any responses. Update. About an hour ago I knocked on my son's door to tell him that breakfast is ready. We usually don't have breakfast together because of my work schedule, but as it's the holiday and I wanted to spend more time with him, so I've booked some days off, including today, so I thought it was the best time to talk about it. He said he was coming and about 5 or 10 minutes later he was dressed and downstairs. I had prepared waffles and fruit salad as I know he really likes it, and I wanted to give an impression that I still love him and I'm just concerned about him and his intimate partner's health. We both sat down and I began asking him how he and his friend were. He sort of looked up at me nervously but then said that they were fine. This is when I came clean. I told him I had accidentally walked in on them asleep together and said that no matter what I love him and always will love him unconditionally, and all I want to know is if they used protection if they made love. My son looked up at me. He had dropped his knife and fork and was just staring at me. Then he quickly shook his head. I was quite shocked, but he hurriedly followed up by saying how they didn't go all the way. I told him how you can still get STDs from touching, and he said he didn't know that, but he has his V card and his friend was tested and is clean, so they can't transmit STIs. I am very proud of my son's honesty. I had gone out the previous day, just after I made the original post, to my friend's workshop. She's a lovemaking therapist, and she gave me a bottle of water-based lube and some protection. I said it was for myself. I didn't want anyone in real life who knew my son to also know the circumstance. I'm also planning to buy a dish or two just in case. I know they're not going all the way, but if they are planning to, I'd much rather have them feel more comfortable and confident. I asked my son if I could meet his intimate partner properly and invite him over to tea. My son said they weren't boyfriends and were just friends experimenting, but he thinks he might like his friend a bit more than just a friend, thinks he's bisexual, and would be fine to have his friend over. I smiled and said that I'm perfectly happy with him whether he's straight, gay or bisexual, and I wouldn't change a thing about him. He smiled back and we started eating our breakfast. After breakfast I gave him the protection and lubricant from my friend and said that it's just in case. He hugged me and thanked me for the breakfast. A little while later my son told me how he asked his friend to come over for tea and it was okay, so I'm going to properly meet his friend tomorrow afternoon or evening. I won't question the friend about anything that I saw or anything about the protection, and the only way he will know that I know is if my son tells him, "Did I do all right? What should I ask the friend to get to know him at tea?" Comments are appreciated.